you doing, Aditi?
Hey, good morning, guys, or good afternoon. Sorry.
Yeah,
It's afternoon.
Yeah.
I got to give
It
Aditi
is
credit
afternoon.
because
Is it snowing there? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
No, bring it.
I got to give you credit.
She's funny. She's like, give it to me.
Give me my credit. Come on.
So yesterday, I made a big deal about, in my 25-plus year career, I made the biggest flip-flop ever. I'm not a big flip-flopper, as you know. But I made the biggest flip-flop, and there it is with my Krebs Classic. And part of the reason I made this flip-flop is, I'm not going to say what you said, but you texted me, you and I were texting Sunday night, I think, and there was something that you said to me in the midst of our conversation that was a big factor into my decision to make this historic flip-flop in my career. On the weekend, for the last month, I've been like, time to move on from Stefanski. And I've defended him for 4.5 years. And I was like, all right, that's it. We got to start over, blah, blah, blah. And Sunday night, I was starting to waver a little. Then you said something to me, and then I went back and listened to Stefanski's press conference, and then I listened to Andrew Berry's press conference. And by the time I came on the air yesterday, I had changed my mind about firing Kevin Stefanski. So I give you credit for being a big factor in that.
Did I tell you something that you can't give me details on right now? Do we need to discuss that later after we're not on air?
What you said specifically?
Yeah, what I said. What
I don't know if you want me to say it on the air, so I'm not sure. So okay. I don't want to take a chance.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, but that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. But that's how much I respect your opinion, because you know stuff. I mean, you mix with the players and you mix with the coaches, and you're an insider, so you know things that a lot of the rest of us don't have access to, even members of the media.
And we still don't got access to it.
And we still don't. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Just text me later, Tyvis.
Yeah. Get later, dog.
I will tell you that, and that's probably really annoying for viewers, but that's a piece of how you get information is by not always divulging every single thing that you know.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's easier to share some of those things after the fact. Like, look, I can tell you, the Bills were very, very honest with the Browns about what some of Ken Dorsey's shortcomings were in Buffalo, and some of what caused the Bills to relieve Ken Dorsey of his offensive coordinator duties and install Joe Brady. And so if I'm the Browns, and I know that these are the things that Ken Dorsey struggled with. For instance, he is indeed a very, very nice man. He is indeed a good quarterbacks coach. But in Buffalo, he struggled to manage to speak to present to the entire room. In Buffalo, he wasn't necessarily very collaborative with the O-line coach, with the running backs coach. He didn't necessarily take great input from Josh Allen on what Josh Allen wanted to see. And he definitely was not as deliberative or as committed to the run game as the Bills wanted. So, okay, the Bills moved on for him. They put in Joe Brady. You've seen how Joe Brady has helped Josh Allen and helped this Bills offense go to a completely different level. Nobody is spreading the ball around the way that the Bills are. Nobody has the level of unselfishness in their wide receiver room that this group has. Nobody is making faster decisions than Josh Allen is, and look at the way that he's not turning the ball over.
Yep.
All of that is a result of what Joe Brady has been able to do and does do that Ken Dorsey didn't. So, okay, now let's go back to this. These are things that Ken Dorsey struggled with in Buffalo. In Buffalo, they were very, very honest when Andrew Berry called, when the Browns called to find out about Dorsey. Okay, so now the Browns know this. So why don't you make sure that Dorsey doesn't struggle with the exact same things in your building that he struggled with in Orchard Park?
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Ken Dorsey still struggled to present to the entire offense. Ken Dorsey still struggled to be collaborative. Ken Dorsey still struggled to be a clear and precise teacher. You saw. So should we really be so surprised by any of this? No. And oh, by the way, isn't it interesting that Drew Petzing, who P.S. is running Kevin Stefanski's offense in Arizona, is now going to interview for a head job in Chicago? Maybe the Browns should go back to running Kevin Stefanski's offense. What do you think?
Well, Kevin Stefanski flat out said, what was crazy, and I mentioned the other part of my change of mind was the Stefanski and Berry press conferences. They were more forthcoming with information than either of them have ever been. Kevin Stefanski flat out said, yeah, I don't remember the exact words he used. Did you see his press conference on Sunday?
I didn't. I'm sorry. Yesterday was very crazy for me on the other coach front.
Yeah, we're going back to a sound offensive plan. Or I can't remember the exact words he used, but it was obvious what he was saying. I had my hand forced a little bit last year. It clearly didn't work. We're going to do my thing this year. And that's
good.
Yeah,
as he should. And you know what? He has everything to stand on. It's so funny. I was talking about this with a general manager this weekend, and we were talking about the Browns. It's an AFC general manager, but not somebody in the division. And he was like, Kevin Stefanski would have a job like this if he left. So I don't understand why this past season Kevin Stefanski didn't stand up more and say, hey, I believe in the offense that I run. I believe in a sound run game. I believe that a sound run game opens up everything else for the rest of the offense and takes pressure off of the quarterback. Doesn't require the quarterback to be a hero on every play. I don't know. But yes, again, sometimes you need that evidence that, hey, the other way doesn't work. And so hopefully there's that. But of course, there's still this big albatross of the quarterback question.
Yes, there is.
Or elephant. Or what's the right metaphor, Tyvis? What are you supposed to say? It's the elephant in the room. It's the albatross. It's the whatever the cliche is.
It's a question mark.
The $64 million question.
I think it's elephant in the room.
I just call it a question mark. Yeah. Let me ask you about the defense, more particularly defensive star, Myles Garrett. Do you believe that he will sign an extension? Because he was very... Myles is one of them guys that he leads you to believe certain things. Do you think Myles is signing an extension, or do you think Myles is demanding a trade? Did you see his post-game quote?
I did, and I feel I don't have solid information on this. So this is not something I've talked about with Myles. This is just my feeling, my sense. My sense is that he's turning the fire up on the team and saying, give me some answers, or I want out. And here's why I think that that's fair. I get a vote, as you know, for all of the NFL awards and the All-Pro and all of that. Myles Garrett, for every single offensive coach that I've spoken to this year and every single personnel person I've spoken to, Myles Garrett is the toughest player to go up against. He is the one that can wreck the game unlike anybody else. He demands more attention. He has more moves and ways to win. He is a freak. He will not be the defensive player of the year this year because he is on a 3-win team.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, okay? He has more answers than TJ Watt does. He has more natural ability than Trey Hendrickson does. He is simply better than Andrew Van Ginkel or Nick Bonito. He maybe doesn't force the fumbles that TJ Watt does. He's maybe not the leader that TJ Watt is. But as a pure edge rusher, the way that he can wreck a game, the way that he makes offensive coordinators constantly think about him is unlike anybody else in the game. He will not be the defensive player of the year.
Is it going to be Hendrickson?
Because he's on a 3-win team. He's on a 3-win team.
No.
And if all he cares about is his legacy and being a first ballot Hall of Famer and writing things in the record book that have never been written, then it matters the kind of team that he's on.
Yeah, that's true. You think Hendrickson's going to win, Aditi?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Most
I don't. Those are some nice numbers, but. Yeah, but I don't know that you feel him in a game the way that you feel TJ Watt or Myles Garrett or even Pat Surtain.
TJ Watt.
He has two.
To be fair, now listen, Myles Garrett is the best player. I'm not arguing that Hendrickson's better than Myles Garrett. Obviously, Myles Garrett's better. But in terms of Watt's got tons of talent around him on that D-line. Trey Hendrickson has a bunch of zeros on his D-line. Nothing.
Correct. No, you are 100% correct. And this is sort of, if you sit here and you say Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is doing more with less,
right?
Which, the Bills would argue. The Bills like their tight ends, even if they don't necessarily have the same name recognition. They like that wide receiver room a lot, even if there's not a diva wide receiver one. But anyway, if you say Josh is doing more with less than Lamar, then why can't you say Myles and Trey are doing more with less than TJ, who has
By a
Cam
lot.
Hayward and Alex
Yes.
Highsmith. But, it's funny because, and Tyvis, I think we already talked about this, the whole Pat Surtain thing, and does a cornerback wreck a game the same way that a pass rusher who gets to rush the passer on every snap does. But, I'll say that I talked to 2 different general managers this weekend who have outstanding teams, who are going to the playoffs, who
Must be
I
nice.
respect enormously.
Must
exactly.
be nice.
And both said there is a ton of value to Pat Surtain shutting down half the field.
I'm just saying.
And that makes the rush that much better. And yeah, he has only 4 interceptions, but he has no opportunities. This isn't a guy that has so many opportunities. So, I mean, again, it's the age-old question, and so much of it is the year and what's happening. I don't think that Josh Allen is such a sort of teetering MVP candidate if Lamar Jackson isn't having such a monster year. I don't know that there's so much Pat Surtain hype if all these other pass rushers have these other sort of detractions or negatives to them. Myles being on a crappy team, Trey Hendrickson not necessarily being all that flashy or naturally talented, TJ playing with such other stars and ultimately being sort of quiet the last 3 weeks of the season. I mean, the Steelers needed to end that slide against the Bengals. They're playing at home. TJ Watt is playing against a guy that hasn't played right tackle in years, and then a rookie with a broken hand, and he had 0 tackles and 0 sacks. And I know that on almost every snap he had 4 hands on him, but isn't that the life of an edge rusher? I mean, ask Max Crosby how many times he's one-on-one with somebody. Ask Myles Garrett how many times he's one-on-one with somebody. So, it's so complicated. It's such an eye of the beholder thing, and when it comes to yearly awards, it's not who would I start my team with if there was an expansion draft? It's who's had the most productive year. It's kind of like defensive tackle. You take Chris Jones over Cam Hayward because Chris is younger, but look at the year that Cam Hayward has had.
Yeah.
And in general, you take Chris Jones over Zach Allen, but look at the year that Zach Allen has had. It's not a lifetime achievement award. It's what have you done this year? And the problem for Myles is that this year, he couldn't help generate more wins for his team.
Right.
Which I know isn't fair entirely, but it's a 3-win team.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie Draft Day, right, Aditi?
Oh, it's terrible.
I have seen Draft
Okay.
Day, yes.
So when you haven't cast your vote yet for DPOY, have you?
Nope,
Okay.
it's not due till
This is what I
tomorrow
want-
at 5 p.m.
Well, this is what I want you to do. When you wake up in the morning, you write on a piece of paper, PS2 no matter what, and you put that in your pocket, and at 4:55, you reach into your pocket, pull it out, and say, all right, I'm ready to cast my vote. I just want to give you that advice because we need somebody. I don't think a corner has won it since Stephon Gilmore hasn't won it since Stephon Gilmore, right? It's been an edge rusher. We need to end this. Just like quarterbacks need to stop winning MVP, we need to end this DPOY.
It's funny. A month ago,
Monday.
I was talking about the trauma that I'm having with all of this with Rob Motti, who runs the whole thing for the Associated Press. And he said, well, the award is not called the Edge Rusher of the Year award. And I was like,
That's right.
true.
That's
It
true.
is not true.
Well, that means clip this. Aditi says the Browns should draft Travis Hunter.
I will tell you this. I think it would be an absolute shame if you reach for a quarterback. It would be an absolute shame to reach for a quarterback. And there are sometimes cornerstone pieces that you have a greater sense of security in, and you've got to get those guys when you can get them.
All right, let's get to. I'm going to get to this offensive coordinator position now.
Okay, Josh McCown. Call Josh McCown.
Oh, so you
I
didn't
mentioned
already
that
put the names out.
yesterday.
That's wild, man. Josh McCown already. Now look, does this hamper this for the Cleveland Browns? Kevin Stefanski, obviously, they want to run his system. Obviously, he's a play caller. Obviously, there's guys in the locker room that want to run Kevin Stefanski stuff. Again, does it limit the opportunity for up-and-coming, really talented coordinators to come to Cleveland because they want to call plays? Is that something that...
Look at all of those guys. Look at all of those guys who were under Sean McVay and never called plays and have become head coaches. Zach Taylor is one. Kevin O'Connell, who will likely be coach of the year, he's another one. Kevin O'Connell never called plays until he became a head coach. Mike McDaniel never called plays until he became a head coach. He was under Kyle Shanahan.
Is that
I
true?
don't think that hampers anybody. That's true.
That's a fact.
Mike McDaniel never called a play until he became a head coach. Kevin O'Connell did not call plays until he became head coach. Zach Taylor did not call plays until he became head coach. Brian Callahan did not call plays until he became head coach. So no. And I say Josh McCown because there's an offensive coordinator ahead of Josh McCown right now in Minnesota. So you're not asking someone who's an OC not calling plays to come be an OC not calling plays. You're asking a quarterback's coach to come and be an offensive coordinator. That's a step up. And you know what? Josh McCown has a history in Cleveland. He is very, very, very well thought of by ownership in Cleveland. Josh McCown is one of the true good humans in this league. I mean, truly one of the good guys. He absolutely relates to players. He gives players the information straight. This is not a guy that is afraid in any way to sugarcoat anything, to hold anybody to account. He is very smart. He recognizes the value of the run game. I mean, I am very, very, very bullish on Josh McCown.
Wasn't Josh McCown wasn't with Carolina?
He was, and then he went to Minnesota.
He was, and he almost quit the NFL after that experience.
Because
he was almost like, I don't want to be any part of that.
Aditi, can they bring back AVP now that he's potentially on the market?
I was going to say, they're going to rekindle that old flame?
In my mind, I think it would be smart. I don't know that AVP would want to come back.
AVP want to call them plays. That's why.
I don't know that that's that, but like, don't you feel that he was done a bit dirty last year?
100%.
Oh yeah,
yes.
But Aditi, what if?
But if they offer him $5 more million, he'd be cool with that.
No, but what if Vrabel goes to New England
probably
keeps him in New England, Aditi? He knows the Stefanski offense from here.
I don't think that that's going to happen. But also allow me, Mikey, to say I think that's one of the most unbelievably asinine, stupid things. If there is one thing that we all know, nothing matters more to a young quarterback than consistency at coaching and play calling. There is a reason that Peyton Manning had exactly one play caller, Tom Moore, in his entire time in Indianapolis. There is a reason that Bill Belichick demanded that even as the play callers changed for Tom Brady, that the offense stayed the same. You need that consistency. What AVP did with Drake May, and I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again, that offensive line up in New England had maybe one player on it that could have started on any other team. There was not a single wide receiver who is better than a wide receiver 3 on any other team. There was no run game because of that offensive line. There was a decent tight end in Hunter Henry. There was nothing else. And yet AVP made Drake May better every single week. He improved his footwork. He taught him how to run play action. He taught him how to command a huddle. He taught him how to call plays in a huddle. He taught him how to fake handoffs. Every week Drake May got better. Sean McDermott just joked to me last week when I asked about Drake May. He's like, yeah, can you ask them to trade him out of the division? He was like, that young man is going to be that good. That is all entirely because of AVP. Look at what this kid, Joe Milton, who up until this week had never even had a first-team snap in practice. He'd never even run the Patriots offense. He had only run the scout team offense. He goes out, he gets his first ever start. He's a 6th-round pick out of Tennessee. And I know it was against the Bills' second teamers, but he looked confident. He commanded the huddle. He read the coverages. He completed passes. Again, that's all a reflection of AVP. So I don't understand why New England didn't just keep AVP until they hired their new coach. They could have made it a condition of the hiring of a new coach and said, hey, Drake made so much progress. We really want AVP to still be here. Or at the least, they should have kept him and said, let's have you talk to the new head coach. And the new head coach will get to decide, but you'll have an opportunity with the new head coach. New England saying, nope, we're just going to move on. Yeah. That's ridiculous. And that hurts Drake May. You know, AVP will be fine. AVP is a very good coach. He has worked with a lot of quarterbacks. His record speaks for itself, and he can get along with just about anybody. I mean, if he could get along with Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield, and Deshaun Watson, he can get along with anybody.
And the
issue is that I worry. Well, no, the issue is I worry about the stunting of Drake May's development. Look at what we saw happen with Bryce Young when he had 3 play callers in 1 year. It's what we're going to see happen with Caleb Williams. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Although Bryce
Rant
Young,
over. I guess
Bryce
you were
Young, Aditi, Bryce Young made great progress the second half of this year. They got to stick with him.
Yeah, I mean, he had some consistency. And look, they had to sit him for a while. They had to sit him for a while, and they had to rebuild his confidence. But the only reason they had to rebuild his confidence is because of the abject mess of last year. Come on now.
Good job, Aditi. Great to have you as always. We'll talk to you.
PS2 no matter what.
Got it.
Bye.